folks. Welcome to a playoff edition of Free Press Sports with Carlos and Shawn, an NFL playoff edition, a home game at Ford Field playoff edition. I still couldn't get my head around that all night long, Carlos. The fact that there was right over our shoulder a playoff game in January at this stadium for the first time in its history, and for the first time in the franchise's history in 32 years?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, you know what? Well, the one thing with the Lions, and I kind of disagree with that a little bit, Shawn, because they've been playing in prime time. They've been playing and kind of meaningful games down the stretch. So this was a different atmosphere. It was ramped up, but they're a team that's built kind of for prime time. They embrace it. So this was a cool atmosphere, but it wasn't anything new or too shocking or different for them.
Well, I mean, they said it was a little bit. They had never experienced anything. Well, a lot of the guys, not a lot, but a few of them talked about how they'd never experienced anything quite like this. I'm just talking about the region and the city and these fans. I mean, it just felt different, right? I mean, you and I, we were looking around all night. Okay, it looks familiar. We come here 8 Sundays, sometimes 9 Sundays a fall, right? In preseason, a couple of more. So you're looking around. It all seems like it's part of our normal life every fall, but yet somehow it felt different.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I think that, as you saw toward the end of last season, right? I mean, to me, I was in that game in Green Bay at the end, where they could have maybe gone to the playoffs if things had broken their way, but they beat the Packers, sent Aaron Rodgers off a loser. That was a primetime game. That was a really, electric atmosphere. It wasn't Ford Field, obviously, but you could sense the moment that it was big for the Lions, and they stepped up as they've been doing. You were in Kansas City. That was a huge moment for them. I think they've been building toward this, and it's really helped them. I mean, they're just ready for it. It was a fun environment. The noise, the loudness, Eminem, it was just everybody was primed for this, and this is as loud as I've ever heard Ford Field. Have you heard it any louder or as loud?
No, I've never heard that. And there were several players that said they'd never heard anything like that. Our colleague Dave Burkett was talking to a couple of L.A. writers who've been to, long-time L.A. writers who've been to several, well, not more than several.
Super Bowl at home.
Yeah, and been to playoff games, lost during their career. And they said they'd never been to a football game that sounded like that before.
Yeah.
And now part of it is because it's a dome, right? I mean, so that gives you an advantage. But also part of it is just all this pent-up love that's, mixed with frustration and disappointment that just turned into passion, right? It's turned into Alex Anzalone, the linebacker in the locker room after the game, was talking about he knew there was a disgruntled fan base here, but he also knows that disgruntlement meant, that's not really a word, but that disgruntled quality was because there's so much love and they care so much here.
Right.
You don't get disgruntled unless you care.
Right. Absolutely.
Otherwise you're indifferent. Yeah.
And, Sean McVay said afterward, and, that this is a great football city, and he was happy, that he understands what this team means to the city and all that. It's a great football town. And you know what? I mean, I spent a few days out in LA and grew up in LA, and I'm sorry, but it's always been kind of a very blasé fan base. The two teams they care about are the Dodgers and the Lakers. They show up for that, but they didn't have the media presence. They didn't have the interest. Stafford even said that at one point they had to go to silent counts at home when San Francisco comes in town, and when a big team they travel well. They just don't have that following, and this is rabid. I mean, when we were out there 2 years ago, right, at SoFi, the fans, that was kind of a big game because Jared Goff was coming back, and the fans weren't crazed or anything.
No.
It just seemed like
you and I were out there in early November, and the Lions fans took the
Chargers game,
for the Chargers, took the stadium over. All right, I want to talk about your guy, Jared Goff. But before we do, because there's a few things to unpack with him tonight, his night, and then his post-game press conference. But can we just start off the top that, the offense was great in the first half, 21 points. But the defense ended up winning this team the game. They held the Rams to 6 points in the second half. They had 3 red zone stops that were not stops, but they held them to field goals 3 times when they were down in the red zone. That was critical. I mean, they scored 23 points total. That's how you got to win in the playoffs. You got to at some point get stops. They got them in the second half, and we didn't see that coming after the way the Rams were carving them up early.
Yeah, I think that definitely give them some credit for that. It looked like it was going to head to a shootout in the first half, and they stanched the bleeding for a little bit, and they did what they needed to do, and it helped that the Rams started getting banged up, right? I mean, Puka Nacua I think he was in concussion protocol for a little bit. Their running back, really great running back, Kyron Williams, went out, I think, with a hand injury. Stafford hurt his hand, and he was in concussion protocol. Like, there was a lot of little things that were hurting them. But the Lions did what they kept blitzing. They kept bringing enough pressure to Stafford to hurry him up, at least. If they weren't getting the outright sack, they were kind of affecting him a little bit. And I think when the team's a little bit banged up, Cooper Kupp just wasn't himself. I think he was dealing with one or two injuries. Maybe I forget what it was coming in, but he wasn't doing great to begin with. Super Bowl MVP a couple of years ago. So that kind of hurt them a little bit, but they did what they needed to do, and they played well enough to win. What do they always say in defense? If we win by a point, it's a good game. So I think they're probably happy with that, but they need to probably find something else, tighten it up a little bit more, and not get into a shootout so early, because some of the other teams that they're going to face, they're going to be better defenses. The Lions probably aren't going to be able to, run on them or run the ball down the throats as much as they did in this game. They had a really good performance by Jahmyr Gibbs. So they're going to have to sort of put up a little bit more as they play a little better teams in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it's either going to be Tampa or Philadelphia. I'm not sure either one of those teams are better than the Rams, to be honest. At least not if you look at the last 8 games. The Rams are playing, especially the way Philly's played. And we'll talk about more of that later in the week. We can talk about the matchup and so forth when we find out who that is, because they play Monday, the Philly Tampa. But I actually think the Rams are pretty explosive, and it was. I mean, you can talk about getting nicked up a little bit, but Cam Sutton, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Alex Anzalone, even a little bit. He hurt his shoulder. He came back. They made some plays down the stretch. I mean, individual plays. Hutchinson was kind of trying to harass Stafford all night, but he just didn't get much help, right?
Right.
They did a pretty good job of shutting down the run, but they made a couple timely plays, and Campbell talked about what was the line he had about how they were scarred to perfection and they've been through some things, and he believes in that, and it kind of came out of the end of the game. That's how you have to win these games. So many of them, they're not going to be like the Green Bay Dallas game, right? Most playoff games are not like that. That's the anomaly. Right. What we saw here tonight, this is how you have to win a playoff game. How many Super Bowls did Brady win? I'm not saying they're going to go win the Super Bowl just yet, but how many Super Bowl wins did Brady win and the Patriots win, where they won game after game after game that looked just like this, where they made a play down the stretch and then they were on. They rarely blew teams out. Yeah. I mean, and that's a dynasty. It's just not how the league works.
And they had the one late, right, when they got that first down, and I think there was less than 2 minutes left, and the Rams were down to one timeout, and you knew if they got that first down, that was it. And when they got it, the crowd went crazy because they knew that was the play. And there were several big plays that the Lions made. The Rams made enough plays too. Stafford had some nice throws, 50-yard bomb, all that stuff.
And Nacua was a monster.
Nacua was great. Maybe had the best game on the field, but it was impressive. I mean, it was kind of a fun. I kind of like offensive shootouts. I'm not a Lions fan, so I don't really have a rooting interest, but it was kind of fun to see them going back and forth, just guys, throwing, Hagler Hearns, right? Just throwing haymakers and going at it, not backing down. Right. And then it tightened up in the second half. So, but yeah, I mean, they as you said with Brady, I mean, the teams that advance in the playoffs, make one more play at the right time.
It's so true.
And that's what they did with, I think it was a pass to.
So I'm on right side. You're talking about the game.
The same problem.
Plays.
Yeah, the first down.
So it was a stop. They forced a stop. And there was it a sack on Stafford, or was a holding call maybe that put him back? Yeah, it was a holding call.
Holding call.
Because it was going to leave 4th and 6, and they took the holding call and moved him back to 3rd and
you wonder
16.
If they should take.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, that's tough, because you move back to 3rd down, you have longer to gain, but you get 2 shots ahead as opposed to 1. It ended up working out. So that was a critical stop. Then they get the ball, and the first down they pick up is a little swing pass to Montgomery, and I want to say that was on first down. Maybe it was second down. I can't remember. Montgomery gets the swing pass out on the edge and jukes his defender, remember? And then kind of bowls up the sideline.
Just a few yards.
And moves the chains. That takes us past the 2-minute warning. Yeah. You could feel the crowd starting to build at that point. They were sensing that after a struggle, quarter and a half at least of struggle offensively. All right, are the plays coming now to seal this up? That was the first one. And then the second one, I think they ran it on the next first down. They ran, I got a yard maybe. On 2nd and 9, Campbell being the aggressive coach that he is, they could have.
Ben Johnson.
They could have, Campbell's got to okay that. They could have run the ball there. Right.
Right.
And just used up more clock or forced them to take the last time. But they threw it. Yeah. They threw a 2nd and 9. And that was, I think Jared Goff described it as this. It's St. Brown. He's in the slot. He's got to go beat the nickel corner. And he said, beat your man. Find some space, get open, and pitch and catch. And that's what they did. They made that play now over and over and over and over, and that sealed the game. Goff said he didn't even realize in that moment that won in the game, or he would have reacted even more crazily. Yeah. But then he saw the personnel to come out to kneel, the victory formation personnel come out, and then that's when he realized it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a cool moment. I mean, the fans got to celebrate for, a little bit more than a minute. Minute and a half, whatever it might have been, because they were in the victory formation, and so the fans got a nice little, cheer and send them off and get crazy and everything at the end. They got to really celebrate. It wasn't in doubt for the last, a couple minutes of real time. So it was a nice moment for the fans to have.
It was. Well, let's talk about Jared Goff, but before that, let's take a break. Got a few bills to pay. Carlson need to catch his breath. And I probably ought to get something to drink. But we'll be right back with more Free Press Sports with Carlos and Shawn. And let's talk about this quarterback that was getting serenaded out here all night long. Welcome back to Free Press Sports with Carlos and Shawn. Jared Goff. I mean, in some ways, he's played in the Super Bowl, but emotionally, in some ways, this is the night of his life. And by the way, when they first started chanting his name, when they came out on warmups, and Stafford was out there too, and that was very pointed, the reason they were chanting him, right? Yeah. And I leaned over and I said, I bet he's never heard anything like that in his life. And sure enough, after the game, he's like, I've never experienced anything like that in my life. Like, why would you? This isn't Chicago Stadium serenaded Michael Jordan after his 3rd championship. Yeah. This is Jared Goff. No, I don't mean any disrespect by that at all. But just all of a sudden, the relationship this quarterback has with this town and this fan base, it was interesting tonight. What'd you make of it?
Well, I give the fans a lot of credit because I think they understood that Jared Goff needed this, a little attaboy shot in the arm, and I don't think they're going to do it again. This was Jared Goff versus Stafford, and when Stafford came out, they booed him. They booed him at the coin toss. They booed him in the first offensive series that they had. In fact, he had to step back and use hand signals because it was so loud. And I think the fans, they had the jerseys that they had his name crossed out on the number 9 jerseys that had, they were leftovers. I think people were like, this is our quarterback now. We have to support him. And there was a whole thing, right? If you know that the bar was banning people from Stafford jerseys. And I think it's right. It's time. It's been time for that to be over, for that era to be dead and buried. And Goff, frankly, he's got some demons of his past with Shawn McVay and the way he was treated. So I think it was great for the fans. They were chanting Jared Goff, Jared Goff. They kept going on, and it was great. It was cool to hear. I've never heard that before. And like I said, we probably won't again because I don't think he needs it again. So that was really nice. A nice way to support the guy who is your quarterback, not the guy who used to be your quarterback. And by the way, won you nothing. So great for Jared Goff. He's earned it. He's had a rocky road, and he played really, really well today. I mean, he made one kind of weird little play with the pitch back that, he should have just fallen the ball. It only cost him 5 yards, as Dave Burkett kind of explained.
Weirdly picked up a first down on that series.
They still come back and got a first down, but it was he played a very good game, and, hats off to him, and that's only going to give him more confidence, right?
No, for sure. And his probably most memorable chant of the night was when, 2/3 of the crowd was gone and he was doing interviews and shaking hands and talking to people and having conversations on the field post game, and then maybe did some interviews, whatever. And when he finally ran off the field, and by the time he got over the corner, there were flanks of people, of fans over there, and he this was a good bit after the game. This is 7 maybe 10 minutes. I mean,
is this why you missed deadline? Because you were watching?
I looked up as I was writing. I didn't miss deadline. I looked up as I was writing that, and they started chanting his name there. And in some ways, it wasn't quite as, it was every bit as loud. And so then Stafford was long gone at this point, right? So they're just one more time. No, I think they appreciate what he's been through a little bit, and frankly the level of play. And Dan Campbell talked about it after the game that he's been even more locked in the last 6 weeks. He is he's got great offensive skill players around him, and one of the best 2-3 lines in football. But let's not take away the fact that he's balling.
Yeah,
I mean, he really is.
Yeah. He's playing great within the system that Ben Johnson has devised for him. And he doesn't ask him to do more than he needs to. And I mean, let's just be real. Stafford is a better quarterback. There's just everything about him, the arm, the sense in the pocket, be able to escape, to throw on the run, still have zip, the sidearm throws, all this different stuff. I mean, he is a better quarterback, but Goff is the quarterback that the Lions need right now, that Ben Johnson knows how to use right now. And we saw, Stafford had different coordinators, different head coaches and whatever. It didn't work for some reason. It worked with Sean McVay finally, and they obviously had a better defense.
He had a better team, yeah.
But they still, but Goff is doing what he needs to do. And I don't think anybody really is delusional in thinking this guy's a Hall of Famer, this guy's whatever. He's a good enough quarterback, a Pro Bowl level quarterback. So this is great. And this is hopefully, you never know. The game's an emotional game. Maybe this is something that spurs him on, like, wow, this is the first moment. And I know he feels appreciated, but this was a different level of appreciation. And I think it really had to mean a lot to, like, hey, I won a playoff game. I didn't need Sean McVay to help me win it. I didn't need Aaron Donald to help me win it. He did a lot for this team to win that game. And, I've always said this before. When during the Stafford years, I thought, sometimes you don't need the hero quarterback. And sometimes if you demand too much, if he's the guy that everything runs through, you're going to live and die with that. Right. Whereas if you have a better team overall, and right now their defense is not what obviously would want it to be, but the offense is very complete, very complementary, run game, tight end, receivers, offensive, everything. It works really well together, and a great offensive play caller. So it's working great right now. But for Goff, this is his moment. He'll go to his grave probably remembering this game.
No, for sure. Think about it. He played for the LA Rams, right? You established earlier. That's not the same fan base. He played college ball at, I want to say, Cal. That's not like playing.
You want to say Cal?
That's not like playing at Ohio State, or LSU, or
Bears,
or Alabama. It's just not the same. It's not the same, and that's okay. It's fine. They don't need to be like that out in Northern California or even Southern California. There's a lot of other living out there that can be had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So although USC had a great program and whatever, but it's just not the same in terms of the emotional connection.
No, for sure.
And the legacy, generation after generation after generation. We were talking earlier about, because Michigan obviously just won the national titles 5-6 days ago, and that meant a lot to an awful lot of people. And I'm not trying to diminish that at all. But what we saw here tonight, what we felt here tonight, the cameras showing a lot of older men, grown men crying around the stadium when they won. It's funny, I had a call from my youngest son, who said that he watched with a friend of his, or his girlfriend actually, and he was getting tears down his eyes. There's something about, look, wherever you go to school, it means a lot. It's your alma mater. You pick it, you choose, you learn, and you carry those memories for a lifetime. But it's not the same as childhood. These fans, most of these people fell in love with this team because their parents did. Right now, some
grandparents
or their grandparents, and that's the thing. It's passed on and on and on, and it just goes deeper. And then you combine it with what's this region, the way people think about this region outside of this region, so to speak, the way they think of this city, the chip on the shoulder, all that plays into all the losing to a fairly significant moment, psychological, emotional, joyful moment here tonight that you don't see very often in sports.
You don't. And I think, as I can tell you, when I was out there with the Rams, and I couldn't believe how little media interest there was. I was looking around like, when is everybody else coming? It was like, well, they know that it's just like, the Rams just don't resonate. They're 2 years removed from a Super Bowl, and they just don't resonate. It's Dodgers and Lakers, that's what it is. Maybe Galaxy Soccer after that, maybe, boxing. I don't know, Canelo when he fights, but it's just weird. It's like a weird, there's a transience, to LA and everything. So there's a whole different vibe, but they don't, I guarantee you that the players, I mean, even, Puka Nacua, I talked to him in the locker room where, it was a huddle and everything, a scrum. And he was asked, what was the environment like? Was it, they were booing you guys, whatever? He goes, no, it's great. He goes, that's what you want. And they don't get that at SoFi Stadium. That emotion, they really miss that. Players feed off of that. And most of these players who come here played at big time college programs that draw tons of fans every week. Mm-hmm. And so they're used to that, right? I mean, Michigan Stadium is bigger than Ford Field. And,
sure.
So they miss that energy.
But not louder.
Not louder, true. But that's the thing is like they appreciate that, the fanaticism, the energy, the emotion. So it was cool. I think they could even appreciate it. But Stafford probably in an honest moment would probably admit that I missed the fans here because they were so passionate. Like you said, it's only when you care that you're disgruntled or you're hurt.
How often in NFL games can you take the camera and pan around the stadium at the end of a wild card game and see tears coming down the faces? No, that tells you they're
Cleveland and
right,
and the Lions.
That's it. I mean, it's the context is it's because of the context of all of this, and it just
first one in 32 years.
I mean, that
playoff win in 32 years,
absolutely, and it's just deep for a lot of reasons, and it was fun to be able to witness this. To be honest,
it was cool. It was awesome,
and you could probably hear my voice a little bit, but I didn't want to miss this. Plus, I wanted to sit there with my buddy, but we wanted to witness history together.
It was cool. I mean, this is one of the times that I said this, that I would definitely watch this game if I had nothing to do with Detroit, or LA. I'd watch this game. It'd be fun for all the storylines and everything. Mm-hmm. But definitely being here and covering this team for so long, that all the pain, all the heartache, meeting players from the 1957 team, what they went through, talking to Bobby Lane's son about the curse, all the flipping stories I've done in the 20 years, about the Lions and mostly their misery, talking to Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders about what could have been and what didn't happen. Mm-hmm. This goes a long way to finally, like, maybe there's
a little bit.
We're seeing the tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel. This is maybe the beginning of a new era.
Yeah, maybe this is just going to be about building of a franchise and a program and a team with a coaching staff. Okay, so maybe they don't get all the way this year. The odds are they probably won't. But maybe they win next weekend. Maybe they lose in San Francisco the weekend after. Whatever. I don't want to get too far ahead.
No Dallas,
right? But so you're like, okay, you made a run. You got better. Then the next year you try to take the next step. But it's without all that other history, right? You get out from under that, and then okay. Well, hey, our next goal is to get to the Super Bowl, whatever. So I think we got some stuff out of the way as a region tonight. It was a bit of an exorcism.
Yes, absolutely.
We burned some sage, didn't we?
I think you burned something else in that, but okay. And here's the thing: is the Lions. They did a video last week, I think, when they were playing the season finale, and they showed a video of Dan Campbell talking to the players at the beginning of the season saying, look on the back of their meeting room, how many years it's been since their last playoff game, how many years since their last division title, how many years since their last championship. He wants the players to be aware of that. And so it's nice for them to be able to now, moving forward, they're going to be able to say, we won a division title last year, and we won a playoff game. We're playoff winners, division champions. Like that now becomes part of the new narrative. And
absolutely,
even if they lose Ben Johnson, which they're going to lose him, and that's going to be a huge loss. It's going to be one of the most trying, testing parts of Dan Campbell's, tenure. But with Campbell and with Brad Holmes, and with some of the other people in the personnel department and executive branches and
the offensive line
and Amon Ross, for all these things, they have a lot of pieces. They need to work on that defense. I don't know about the defense coordinator or whatever. We'll see. But no team is perfect, right? They need help. But this is the beginning of something that you have to like. And they can now call themselves. We don't have to talk about 1957 as much. We don't have to talk about, 1991 or whatever it is. Now you can talk about, look at that banner over there.
That's right.
See that playoff game? We beat Stafford.
Anzalone was talking about this after the game. He said it's pretty cool to be part of the team that changed it, that stopped the streak and started a new one. And he was aware of that, and Campbell pointed out to them, But and I asked Anzalone, I said, did you have any idea this fan base, this region, the relationship with this franchise to this community, what it was like? And he said, yeah, a little bit. He said, you kind of understand just playing around and talking to people, that there's something that's a little different in Detroit. You know, and you don't fully know about it until you move here.
Yeah.
But you get a sense of it. It's just a little different, and that sports are kind of a big deal here. Yeah. It's maybe not as famous as the way Philly is, Philly fans and so forth, so on and so forth.
They're just angry.
But this is obviously one of the great handful of sports towns in the country, and tonight is a prime example of why.
I want to ask Taylor Decker one of these days why the locker room was pretty, jubilant. I would say they were, they're always jubilant after a win, but you could see a little bit more hyped. Everybody was a little happier or whatever. Dan Skipper was calling, Taylor Decker a really handsome man right before he did his interview. I like to talk to Decker because, I have to ask him this, but he always says how sometimes this is all the people have. They have to go to work and maybe you don't like your job and it's a hard job. Like everybody's digging ditches in Detroit.
No, but a lot of people are doing a tough work.
They do, but now with the ticket prices, I don't know if you're going to get a lot of tough people digging ditches.
But a lot of these folks do tough work and they save up for this, and it's a lifetime.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who have good money too to buy these tickets.
No, for sure. No question. It's a mix of things.
But it is a hard scrabble town for sure.
In a lot of ways,
even if you're a white collar person, whatever, you have somebody who has a blue collar job pretty near and close to you and your family. And it was nice for Anzalone to acknowledge that, and it's good for the team to understand. I think the whole working class thing gets played up, but just a little too much sometimes. But the truth is that this is a team that endures through the generations. And that's why guys were crying. People were crying and they're so passionate, and this is one of the most, I've been to different games and we've been to different, cities and whatever, and Pittsburgh's and New Orleans and whatever, New England. And this is as crazy as an atmosphere as, pumped as an atmosphere has ever seen. And
no question.
It's been electric 30 years of pent up, frustration finally boiling out. It was a nice moment for everybody.
No question. We've always talked about what it would be like, and for those who can remember the home playoff, the last one was over the Cowboys in, I want to say 91 at the Silverdome. And that was crazy. I was at not the Bad Boys. Actually, it was one of those finals games, but I was when they go into work. I was there for that whole playoff run. I was there for most of the Wings runs, not the 97, 98, but the two or three, the two after that, I can't remember. And the Joe was great. The Palace was crazy. The noise was great. But the larger context wasn't there because those teams had the Wings when they won in 97.
That was completely different.
But when I was there, they'd won in 97 and 98.
They'd already won.
The 97 one that was a big deal. That was a little bit similar. But hockey doesn't quite as great as much as the Wings are beloved here, and this is a great hockey town. It's still not the same as football. It doesn't resonate in the same way with this, and the cross. It just the togetherness, the sacrifice that's involved in football. Look, all sports involve that, but there's something about this game that means something to our country, for better and for worse. And when you have a team in an old city like this, when the team's been around a long time, where they really, really care, it matters. And, people say, does it matter more than it should? No. We've had sports since we've been plowing and had agriculture and had society together. I mean, we've had sports since civilization. Yeah. So don't. Of course, it matters.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
It's one of the reasons we can have civilization. If we didn't have sports, who knows what we'd be doing. So anyway,
yeah.
Not that the Lions are saving civilization tonight, but they might be saving this. They might be saving this state. I don't know. I mean,
save our jobs.
Yeah.
Keep reading freak.com.
All right. We're getting too deep into it. We're gonna rejoin each other. What do you recommence? Whatever.
Yeah. Reconvene.
Sure. How about I'm getting a little loopy here. In a few days, and we'll talk about the next. God, they have a second home playoff game in as many weeks.
Oh, by the way, one of the fun things was when they were showing the Packers and the Cowboys game on the big screen, people were cheering the Packers so hard. I heard one person on the PR team saying, man, it's hard to hear them cheer the Packers. But they had to, because this meant that they were going to have a home game, because they were the Cowboys are number 2 seed, Lions are number 3. So now they get a second home game if they would beat the Rams, which they did. So amazing. I mean, amazing. 2 home games.
No more 32-year wait. Last night, hey, and before today was 32 years. Now all of a sudden it's 6 days.
Yeah.
Or 7 days or 5 days. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, it's time to wrap this up. All right. For Carlos Menarez, I'm Shawn Windsor. We are Free Press Sports with Carlos and Shawn. That's where Carlos and Shawn come from. But until, I don't know. Well, you pick the day. You're the boss. Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, somewhere in there.
Yeah, like in The Godfather. Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Thursday. Go. Who knows?
Until then, thanks for joining us and listening and watching as always. And we will talk to you all in a few days.